Hello H2Hos and other various forms of snacks, welcome back, my name is Jack. People we may be mutually absolutely sick of is today's theme, starting with an update to a previous story that we've already also updated. Look, I can't be bothered reading the entire original posts. I'll just, boop, that's the thumbnail. Link to the video in the description if you want to actually follow it outright. But to really summarize it, man has female friend. Female friend is a-hole to man's wife. Man was interested in female friend decade ago, and it seems female friend subtly likes to tease about this in some way or form. At their very wedding, this female friend accidentally, I am heavily quoting with my fingers up and down in a mocking way, spilled wine on the wedding dress. This made the wife say, hey, bro, you gotta cut out this friend, otherwise, I'm gonna leave you. And he was absolutely flabbergasted because he wasn't aware how heavily aggressive this bullying was from the female friend. But upon finally understanding everyone saying that you need to talk to your friend about this and say, hey, you either apologize to my wife or I never be your friend again, well, he sees firsthand just how much of a B word this female friend actually is. With it ultimately being decided between the female friend's husband and the wife and the OP that Ailey, the female friend, send through some sort of apology and pay for the wedding dress to be fixed and essentially sending a very fruitful hamper of sorts. Now that's where it ended on July 25th, with OP and Eliza, his wife, going to marriage counseling. But friends, I do apologize. There was an update literally earlier on the week, which was the very week I posted a video about this. And oh boy, get ready for Ailey absolutely justifying being cut off by everyone. So after rightly deserved bollocking you gave me in the last post, you'll be happy to learn that Ailey and me aren't talking anymore, and it's probably for the best. Eliza and me received the condolences hamper in the post, and it was primarily soaps. Not in the sense of fragrant body lotions or luxury packages or even organic bars, just regular run-of-the-mill soaps. There were 2 dispensers that were faintly rose-scented, but it was so mild you had to really look for it. There were several white soap bars that didn't smell of anything. Really, it was so confusing. The only items that suggested it was a proper gift basket were a 6-pound bottle of Chardonnay and a box of Rose's chocolates that looked a fair deal more effort than the cleaning equipment at the nearest pub. The weirdest item, though, a pair of women's underpants. Not lingerie, not anything lacy or risque-like, just a plain pair of white pants. They were actually kind of grubby. There was a faint orange lining on them. It just didn't make sense to me because if they were meant to be for Eliza, they were at least 6 sizes too big. And if Ailey really was making a move on me, they were again around 6 sizes too big. Also, why would she choose such disgusting pair of pants to try and seduce me? It weirded me out, so I rang up Ailey, asking why I had soap and grubby knickers in our condolences hamper. She kept making dry remarks to her husband about there being a strange noise on the other end of the phone. I didn't get anywhere with her and insisted that Ewan should talk to me instead, because getting anywhere with her was like pulling teeth at this rate. After some disgruntled remarks, she passed the phone over. Ewan asked what was up, and I explained the whole situation. Now, he was momentarily surprised when I described the hamper as looking like the luggage of a janitor that lived under a bridge. He said that it was a small package, but there should have been several luxury gifts that weren't simply sanitary items. Apparently, there was a bottle of Chardonnay, a bottle of Shiraz, 1 box of rose chocolates, a Lindt bar, a selection of crackers, and some assorted cheeses. Somehow, that got replaced with leftover soaps bought in bulk at his Y-fronts that Ailey found ever so hilarious and apparently found ever so hilarious to send my wife. He was hugely apologetic and embarrassed, stating that he'd pay us the cost towards the lost items. I was raging at this point, but I tried to be collected and said, right, let me talk to Ailey again, please. And he got her on the line. I told her that she had the chance to make it right, and she blew it. And she groaned and told me that Eliza's jealousy has crippled our friendship, and she was sick of having to flatter her insecurities. I said, no, you are Eliza's insecurities, and we rowed for a bit. Now look, eventually it ended with me saying that this had been building up for a while, and that her attitude had been giving Eliza grief for years. Ailey said,
none of this would be happening if Eliza knew how to take a joke.
And I just told her that a joke isn't ruining her wedding dress and then sending her your husband's stinky Y-fronts. She said I sold out my principles for a girl who's threatened by other women. Ah, the pot calling the kettle black. After the phone call, Eliza was not so much hurt as she was confused at first, because she was wondering if there was a mix-up until I explained to her the joke. She seemed pretty much resigned to the idea that Ailey would always be a sleut. And I told her the likelihood of that happening was very slim, considering she's cut me off for standing up for her. I think the counseling has made us stronger in a weird way. I'm glad this happened, because if your friendship falls apart the moment you try to protect your loved ones, then they probably weren't that strong friendships at all. Shame I won't be speaking to Ewan from now on. He's a top lad. Now, what irks me, though, is that when there is this clear character development, this legitimate, impressive progress of someone on the internet listening to everyone and actually doing what they suggested, provided it was actually useful and informative. The top comment to all of this is,
Well, I just hope that you finally feel stupid and you apologize and make it up to your wife. How the frick didn't you know your friend was bullying your wife is beyond me.
I'm sorry, are the Reddit comments just filled with mothers never proud of their children?
Oh, you finally did the thing? Well, you didn't in the past, so we're gonna keep bringing that up.
I don't know, man. I get healthy shaming. I'm all for that. But then when I read his response in this regard, I think it was because I saw it as lost in translation. Like, it was something that worked with me and Ailey, but it didn't with her. And I assumed that she would figure it out. It was the sort of banter we encouraged, and she'd join in at some point. I should have considered that Eliza's from a very sincere, straightforward family that say what they mean and don't necessarily make jokes like I do. The whole idea would be lost on them, and they would be really confused and upset, thinking that we were actually insulting each other. I mean, Eliza's brother nearly jumped me once just because I said, "That's plenty," when she was rambling on a little. And that's a still game reference for the transatlantic pals across the world. I like it when she rambles. I think it's cute, and it's a running joke between us. But he found it so personally offensive, though. Like, he thought that I was just telling her to put a sock in it, and started ranting at me for disrespecting his sister like that. Eliza started hiding her face in shame. It was that extreme a reaction. So what do you think? Do you think that's a justified reason to have not picked up on all this sooner? On one hand, yeah, but on the other hand, he then has another paragraph talking about all the examples that Eliza's brought up just now, though, to be fair. She didn't bring this up in the past. But whenever Eliza tried to chat to Ailey, she's just been like, "I don't do small talk." And they'd sit in complete silence while OP was away. And other times when Eliza tried to chat, then Ailey would do a totally non-committal yawn just be totally non-committal or yawn so loud that it would wake up the dog. Apparently the only reason he didn't find out about this earlier is because, of course, Eliza didn't want to inconvenience him and damage their friendship, and she felt too ashamed, etc. But either way, it's good to see Ailey's finally gone. Eliza and the OP can finally actually be happy together. On to some fresher updated stories. Am I the a-hole for walking out on my boyfriend when he's grieving? I'm 35 female and my boyfriend 36 had to have his family dog put down. He is naturally devastated. I went round to his the day after and we stayed in and had a few drinks. The next morning, I had gotten up before him. When he got up, he just went straight into the kitchen and was washing up. So I went in from where I was in the living room and he looked annoyed. I asked if he was all right and he said no. I asked what was wrong and he shouted at me, "What do you think is wrong? My dog's just died. Just frick off and leave me alone." So I did. I went and got dressed, and as I was walking out the door, he asked where I was going. I told him home. When he asked why, I said, I get that his dog's died, but he didn't need to tell me to frick off when I was just asking what was wrong. He told me to go then and called me a twat. I've sent him a message explaining that he didn't look like he was upset. He looked annoyed, so that's why I asked what was wrong. He's just said, okay, no apology. I have spoken to a couple of my friends who say there was no need for him to speak to me that way, and that they would have left too. But the way he's reacted makes me think he's hurt that I left him whilst he's grieving. Agreed, it is pretty far-fetched to lash out like that, but also, we can all get a bit emotional in grief. We can all unintentionally be on edge of sorts, wanting to be angry at something. Just reach out to somewhere in the void that you can anchor your frustrations and hate about the unfairness of a loss of life onto. It's unfortunate she was in the crossfire, but also, she hasn't shamed him for his actions, she's just stepped away from it. Even if we argue that he's grieving and he deserves sympathy for that, it still doesn't dismiss the valid actions she took. And wouldn't you know it, as someone asks this question, OP naturally responds, well, I'll be honest, it's not the first time he's took out his frustrations on me. This is the first time he's sworn at me, though. We had a conversation not long ago and told him the way he speaks to me is disrespectful. Now he's swearing at me? I guess I was just thinking because he's grieving I could forget it, but he's not even apologized, and he usually would by now. And to argue if it's possible she's emasculated him in this moment, or maybe in the past, Willope's quoted saying, I don't think grieving for a dog makes him less of a man. Verbally abusing his girlfriend does. Which, okay, is all well and good. But does he know that? Does he know you think of him that way? Now, it's the next day, Opie comes back with an update, just in a comment, mentioning that she's going over to talk today to rectify the situation, see where he's coming from, but hopefully he can understand where she was coming from too. And if you're wondering who's the person we should be sick of most in this story, well, the next day after talking to him, we get another update. In case anyone was interested, he refused to apologize and said I goaded him because I knew why he was mad, because I didn't stay in bed to give him a cuddle and I didn't intimately satisfy him the night before. He can't keep hard when he's drunk too much, and that's my fault. We've split up. I'm on Hinge. Thank you to everyone for helping me see him for what he is. So yeah, as comments say, it's kind of funny that she was actually completely right. He was just annoyed and not grieving. Like, come on, could you imagine this being just blatantly honest about it?
My dog died and I'm really upset. And horny. Wanna try doggy style? That was his favorite style!
My girlfriend regrets inviting her sister to live with us. So this actually began in a deleted post back in early December, asking if they were the a-hole for trying to convince their girlfriend to move away from her sister. My girlfriend, 30, and I, 29, back in 2020 decided to move out of state and start living together after over 10 years of friendship and 2 years of dating. We got an apartment space with our college roommate, who we were also friends with, and it was a long adventure of learning how to live with someone, adjusting, compromising, and understanding how and why someone lives the way they do. Eventually, the college roommate moved out 2 years later, and while we love her to death, we struggled to take care of her 2 cats that she adopted while we took care of our own 2 as well. We got to live together as just us 2 for 8 months, and we were on a steady path of improving both our individual lives and our relationship, until my girlfriend thought to invite her sister to live with us. To give context, my girlfriend came from a hellishly strict household, from no internet or going out till an adult, high expectations in school, so on. Her and her sister would endure their drunken dad, who'd always put them on edge when he was around, force them to hide in their rooms, and then berate them from outside their door. It was so much that my girlfriend actually ran away, almost started up a new life in a different state until guilt brought her back, and while things were talked out, the issue was never really resolved. What's worse was her sister, who'd put some blame on her from time to time for whenever her dad targeted her when she was not around, forcing more guilt. Moving out was my girlfriend's second chance of trying to be free. So naturally, my girlfriend invited her sister out to live with us because she also felt like she needed to get out. And out of kindness, my girlfriend offered. We drove to her with a U-Haul, helped pack her things, then carried everything into our space within a day. A year has passed, and it's only been negative. Her sister also has 2 cats, and once again, we had to help take care of them. But compared to our old roommate, her sister expects us to. Don't let her 2 cats enter our room. Don't let our 2 cats enter her room. Stop our cats from being near her door around 3 a.m. Don't let the cats interact, and so on. We had to cage our cats temporarily because we are both at work and she doesn't want to handle any of the cats. She drinks occasionally and sometimes goes into a spiral that forces my girlfriend to take care of her. We've tried talking, and while they talked it out, nothing gets resolved. My girlfriend just feels on edge when her sister is around, has to hide with the cats in our room, and if something went wrong, we hear her berate us near our door. Sound familiar? With our leases finally ending soon, I've been trying to convince my girlfriend to move to a new place, but it would leave her sister screwed with no place to go. We can't think of any solutions, and while I don't socialize with her sister much at all, even after I and my girlfriend spoke our mind, nothing really got through. I want us to get out, but then I'm potentially leaving someone homeless. Am I the a-hole? So that was the situation then. And 2 weeks later, they post once again on r/relationship advice. And it starts out with all the same information. 2020, they moved in together. 2022, the college roommate moved out, and then the sister moved in, and it's been terrible. Bad sibling relationships, not doing very well at all. So here's some additional info. So we decided to fly her long-distance relationship boyfriend here on the agreed idea that being together will have them work together for a better future. Nope. It's been 9 months and he hasn't got a job and makes a mess that we have to clean up after that neither will take responsibility for. On top of that, she gets intoxicated and would pass snide comments when something was done wrong, i.e., we left a plate soaking in the sink, even though there's an oil-soaked mess they made near the stove. Now, the issue is if we move out, her sister has nowhere to go. We did talk about it before, how she would change, but she expects us to change. The only things wrong is done by our cat, which we stay up hours to correct, and that we invited her out here in the first place, so it would be messed up to leave her like this. I'm not sure what the correct solution is, and I only post here in /family because I'm actually planning to propose and marry into my girlfriend's family, as I've known her for a good 15 years at this point. Are we in the wrong for wanting our own peace at the risk of making her sister have no place to stay? Or should we force something to work? Yeah, oof. What a fun family dynamic to jump on into. Now, at the time, as people were offering some great advice, again, the post is now deleted, so I can't exactly show them here. But Opie responded to clarify some things, notably that my girlfriend is strong. Like, so strong. I remember she was involved in a carjacking, and it took her months to finally be vulnerable and cry about it. So it hurt to see how often she cried throughout this whole year, more than I've ever seen my whole time knowing her. She teared up after I read this comment out loud, but in a good way, because she was scared that her and myself would be bad in trying to find peace living alone. Because yes, it should be mentioned here that he has now shown his girlfriend the post and is very happy to see all the support that they're getting. And as for inviting the boyfriend thing, look, we've been friends with him for a good several or so years, before he got together with my girlfriend's sister. Me, my girlfriend, and the sister's boyfriend came to the idea that he come here, he work, and then all four of us can pitch in and get a big house for all of us to live together. Yeah, we were naive. I'd be much more comfortable with us moving out if he had a job, because he's been here for 9 months, but he hasn't. Anyway, it's late December, so our plan is to enjoy the holidays, visit my family, and then once New Year's passes, we will tell them the news. It gives them 5 months before the lease ends, and then we can also see what her boyfriend decides to do, whether he wants to fly back or stay here and actually work things out. It just sucks, because we both are anxious about the long 5 months, as our sister's reaction will decide how we live for the remaining time here. And with that being Christmas time, we were left with no other information until early February. Saying hello again after a bit of a hiatus and a TLDR of the situation. Summarizing comments too by saying, the post I made was unanimous in saying we just need to tell them and leave. Most were kind. Some called us pussies, but I can't blame them. Well, good news for everyone who saw the OG post and for the people just joining in, but we did tell them in the beginning of January. We were expecting, and were extremely anxious about it, but when we talked about it, we felt relief off our shoulders. Of course, her sister cried about it, saying a lot of things to try to convince us to stay, and we firmly just said we wanted to leave. We did not say because of her, we simply said we wanted to be on our own. Since the last 5 years living out on our own, it was never us two, since we had a roommate for the first 3 years, and now her sister. She admitted defeat and said she was fine with it, and now we're moving out in May once our lease ends. It doesn't come without the weekly comments to guilt us to stay, all from her sister, which we have had answers for each one. I don't want us to lose contact or stop talking after all this. Well, we always invite them out to eat or explore, play games, watch movies, bring them with us to visit our respective families for the holidays, and they've always said no. Doesn't help every time she does try to talk to us, it ends in her guilting or blaming my girlfriend. It's hard to find a job nowadays. I don't know if boyfriend can help me with paying for a new space. Well, it's now been 1 year since he's been here. We can say for certain he only applied to one place and gave us no update. I'm sure him saying he doesn't want to work somewhere that pays him below X amount doesn't mean anything. Look, there's plenty more, but we've been growing thicker skin and now we're just looking forward to living with just us together. Might not necessarily need a post, but just wanted to make this to thank the people on here that encouraged or kicked us butts in to take a stand. Is there anything we should plan ahead of for in handling a person with this kind of personality? And again, replying in an edit, taking on board all the advice, being ready for any last minute attempts the sister-in-law makes here. Well, soon to be sister-in-law, buddy. Am I the a-hole because I told my ex-husband outside of our kids I don't care about his life and I don't owe his fiancé anything? So I'm 36 female. My ex-husband Tom left me for his work wife Tammy, 25 female, 2 years ago. I never liked her even before I found out about their relationship. The first time I met her at a work event, she told me while I was heavily pregnant with my youngest, better up your wife game or I might steal him off you. Well, 3 months later, she did. This woman literally came with him to help pack the day he moved out and tried to have a one-on-one conversation on how she wanted our relationship going forward because she was gonna be in my life. Then said as a joke, "Told you I'd steal him away." Not gonna lie, I'm thankful she did, because when my ex made a comment about her being 23 and her brain not being fully developed, I got the ick so bad, it turned my heartbreak into relief. I got everything in the divorce because I got him in his affair fog and gave 50-50 custody for our kids' sake. Now I'm civil for the sake of my kids so we can both attend events without drama, but other than that, I couldn't honestly care less about them. Around June, Tammy came instead of Tom for pick and practically skipped towards me to show off her engagement ring, saying she wanted me as a bridesmaid along with my daughters for something I didn't catch because I was in a rush to get our cat to the vet. She got upset because I just said, her whole conversation per Tom's text a few hours later. Same issues happened again in September when she told me she was pregnant, which again, my zero fricks given upset her. In December, when she told me the second I opened the car door, "Tom's finally getting a son!" To which I sarcastically replied, "I'm sure Lord Tom's excited for an heir to take over his lands and titles," which caused drama too because Tom's family found it hilarious when Tammy was bad-mouthing me. December was the last time I saw her till today at drop-offs with Tom, 2 months later. As they approached me, I noticed Tammy didn't look pregnant anymore. Tammy tearfully said, "We lost the baby." I didn't answer. I just told Tom our second daughter has a birthday party tomorrow at 3 and the oldest has gymnastics at 5. Tammy literally screamed at me that I was a heartless bitch and bitter, then grabbed the girl's bags, walking away. So Tom said I could show a little humanity towards Tammy, and regardless of my feelings, she is my kid's stepmother. I told Tom I don't care about what he's got going through because outside our kids, I don't care about them, and I don't owe Tammy anything, especially pity. So he called me an a-hole, along with other things, and left. Usually this wouldn't bother me, but my ex-in-laws, who I have a good relationship with, have told me I should have shown Tammy some empathy, and at the very least, pretended to care for the sake of the kids. Well, how do you expect to keep the peace when you are purposefully acting cold towards someone who is trying to converse with you and trying to share their joys? I only say joys here because based on the story and taking into account this is all from OP's perspective, the one who was betrayed and heartbroken, I really have to wonder if some of the things Tammy had said at the start and after finally stealing him away, was that exactly what she said? It just comes across too cliche villainess for her to be acting like this and then later on throughout their relationship of getting married to Tom to then be so shocked and upset that OP would shut down to her like this. Like, come on. I get she's what, like 23, 24 by now? You're in your early mid-20s. You cannot have the brain of a 13-year-old anymore. There's some everyone sucks here saying, yeah, you know them nothing, but come on. They lost a child. The least you can do is just say, I'm sorry to hear that. Everything else you're valid to not care about, but someone they loved and cherished and wanted to bring to this world died. But despite some accusing OP of being Yata for what she's filling out in the comments to add to the story, I genuinely tried to find what they are talking about. I could not pick up what they were saying. Like what? She's enjoying her single life? She's adopted 2 cats? She's never bad-mouthed to the kids about their father? At most she's done is talk smack about him to her own family and friends? What do you want about, mate? That you are the story of Pinocchio if he had been a garbage can at a sewage treatment plant that came to life? But maybe it's just the way I've interpreted your story. Yeah, I think it is, buddy. So yes, despite this, majority say Nita. Tom's clearly a piece of schmidt. His comments show that he is definitely the kind of man who's going to leave Tammy once she's also too old for him to enjoy. Which is so insane here, right? So there's a common ideology that this kind of men go after young women because they're more fertile and fresh. For the purpose of being able to have more children and create more of a legacy, as, you know, having an heir to title and land, all that stupid stuff. 90% of men in this world are like the peasants in the Middle Ages. We have no bloodline or legacy worth continuing. Do it if you want to, but you don't own freaking Amazon. Anyway, they already have 4 kids. Now, some theorize OP should be careful that Tammy doesn't try to poison them against her, but OP's confident that their girls are extremely smart. Oldest told her father I've never said a bad word about him to them, so she wouldn't stand for it either, nor would she tell them any information about me. Both Tom and Tammy have asked multiple questions about me in the past to the kids, and they tried to convince them I was a bad person during the bridesmaid situation, But my oldest told me, and her grandmother, my ex-mother-in-law, I told my ex I'd take him back to court if it ever happened again, and his family said they'd back me. So taking on board the advice, Opie returns a day later. So I texted Tom today due to Tammy's mental state. I prefer if he or his mum would do all the pickups from now on, and if Tammy's mental health gets any worse, I want the girls full-time for a couple of weeks till it's a healthier environment for the kids. Tom tried to call me, but I texted him I prefer texts, and he said he wanted to have a heart-to-heart. Yeah, not gonna happen. I asked, did it involve the girls, but he said yes, but it's also about all of us going forward and the relationship he wishes for us to have. Basically, he wanted family therapy with himself, me, Tammy, and the kids. So I said if he thinks the kids need to see a therapist, I would be happy to find one we both can agree on, but again, he just kept bringing it back to us. So after a few hours, knowing it was going nowhere, I just left him on red. I also called my ex's in-laws and told them the situation and how I don't want to be involved with anything Tammy and Tom related unless my kids are involved. I reminded them I've expressed multiple times I don't care, and I don't want anything more than a civil co-parent relationship. I told them even though I value my friendship with the family, ex-in-laws, I will go low contact if it happens again. Now my mother-in-law apologized, well, ex-mother-in-law, saying she was very emotional because at the end of the day, Tom is her son and he was heartbroken. Plus, the baby was her grandchild, which I completely understand, and I forgive her. Now, here is where it gets weird. Tammy showed up to my house. Now, I've watched enough true crime to know not to open the door, and I talked/recorded her by the doorbell cam. She was crying, saying she was sorry and she just wanted to be my friend. Then she said, I need to forgive her because she lost her baby as karma for what she did to me. She was saying other stuff, but I couldn't understand her. So anyway, I rang the police, then my brother and Tom. She didn't get arrested or anything, but Tom talked to my brother and said he was taking her home and agreed it's best if I have them full time for now. So my girls are at home, safe. My brother will be staying with me for the foreseeable future. I'll be seeing a lawyer first time Monday about full custody and a restraining order because I have a sinking feeling it's gonna get worse. Before it gets brought up, I just kept telling Tammy, leave my property because I don't want to hear it. I don't know why I was brought into this because I was looking forward to my chill weekend. Now, I'd like to also say for the people in my last post calling me jealous or bitter, I've nothing to be jealous of. Someone who cheats on you isn't a prize. He is Tammy's problem now, and for those of you saying my I don't give a care about my ex's life means I'm not over him because I don't want to be friends with him or Tammy, your ex moved on when they say leave them alone. They're not playing hard to get. They really don't want to talk to you. So I can't help but wonder if Tammy is genuinely an idiot here, or just further proving she's a bit of a manipulator. Was it crocodile tears, or does she genuinely, superstitiously believe she's being punished for her, I don't want to say theft because Tom isn't property, and he chose to go with her. She didn't kidnap him. But anyway, despite Tom's attempt to make OP come across as the bitter, evil ex-wife, this isn't actually where the story ends. Because 2 days later, OP returns. And unfortunately, things take a rather dark twist. I won't be updating till all the legal issues are over with and my own mental health is in a better place, so it could take anything up to 3 to 6 months. I spoke to a lawyer today. I'm obviously not going to go into details, but with all the evidence and witnesses on my side, I have a good shot at getting full custody, but it's only day 1 and nothing has started yet. Tom assaulted me. It didn't go far thanks to my brother, but it's left me very shaken. I agreed to let Tom come over to visit the kids whenever he wanted, so when he came over yesterday evening and went into the garden with the kids, I went for a shower. Coming out of the bathroom, he cornered me about wanting to talk. I told him it wasn't the time and told him either go out to the kids or leave. He started saying he made a mistake. Tammy was a nut job and he wanted to come home to us. I told him to get the frick out of my house and there is no us. So he started saying stuff I physically can't type without breaking down, then tried to force a makeout session, to put it politely. Thankfully, my brother heard and came running. Unfortunately, the kids heard everything when my brother and Tom started fighting. I was in complete shock at the time, trying to do anything to help the situation. Even when Tom was being taken away, I was too scared to move and couldn't confront my crying children. Not my proudest moment. Remember I said before I adopted older cats? Well, I put cameras through common areas in my home to watch them while I'm at work, and one of those areas is the hall between my room and the bathroom. Now, I don't know what to do with Tom going forward, but I know I can't face him ever again, even with supervision from my father or brother, who both work in law enforcement. Tammy sent hundreds of messages to me and my oldest too, but I can't block her by my lawyer's request. My ex-in-laws have reached out and told me they'll help me with whatever I may need. His sisters have disowned him, but this is still all very new. They might change their mind. I plan on moving after everything gets sorted, so I won't ever cross Tammy's path. Thank you, all of you, for your love and support. Hopefully I can give you all a positive update in the future, and to the young men sending messages asking for nudes or sending me pictures, are you serious? Thanks for the laugh, but I'm done with dick. Look, I don't blame you. Now, in case anyone did find it confusing about the brother here and them being cops and all that stuff, so Opie has 3 brothers. One brother living with her and the other brother is a cop. So, wasn't specifically that brother who came and arrested him and took him away. But ultimately, yeah, a very horrific experience for the Opie to have gone through, and so glad to know in this comment at all, they clarify that he didn't get as far as anything beyond that kissing and holding her down. So at least there's relief there, but of course, when you're experiencing that, it's not so much the physical act that's making it horrifying, it's knowing what is coming next. So I can understand Opie still feeling just as traumatized as someone who actually experienced all of it. But at the very least, there's proof, and it definitely seems to be a case where Tom is not getting any sort of happy ending whatsoever. And props to his side of the family for not giving him any chance to run away from this sort of consequences of his disgusting actions. Anyway, friends, might end it there for today's video. Thank you as always for watching. Remember to stay hydrated, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.